Hello and welcome to Be Good Fruit. I'm Brian.
David.
Today we're gonna talk about dysfunctional families. There's a nice easy topic, and and we're gonna talk about how, in a godly way, in a Christian way, how do we cope with that? Because
Mhm.
no family is perfect. We were talking about this before the podcast about there's no Leave It to Beaver or golly gee, oh shucks, Dad. It's usually way worse than that. And there's levels, and no one's got it easy. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of families where dysfunction is the norm. Um, there's really three rules that I felt like formed a dysfunctional family. I'll give you a definition because we always do, but I think this definition will help. Maybe a lot of people understand dysfunctional families better. There'll be some oh yeah moments
Mhm.
in a dysfunctional family. Don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. We don't talk,
Yeah.
we avoid, we don't trust each other, and we don't feel feelings because they're just there to get hurt. And
Mhm.
these dysfunctions are what are the basis of what people go through in the dysfunctional families. But here's your definition: a family where consistent patterns of conflict, misbehavior, neglect, and or abuse are present, creating an unhealthy environment that hinders family members' emotional and physical well being. That's a static way
Yeah.
of saying it ain't good.
Oh yeah.
I've found that most, not all, most of the dysfunctional families don't have God at the center. And those that do have God at the center that are dysfunctional, He's not really at the center. They just pretend.
Mhm.
They want to sit on the throne. What do you think, David?
Yeah. Yeah. Dysfunctional families, as I was saying to you, it's a extremely common thing.
Yeah,
You know, um, I heard somebody say, "There's no such thing as a perfect relationship."
right.
People get married and they think and hope and want to have my marriage is all good. No, it's not. It's good and it's bad. It's all of that. You know what I mean?
Mm hmm.
No relationship that you had was perfect with anybody, but you make it work. You deal with it. You figure out, how to maintain some type of healthy exchange between people. You have to do that with people that you work with. You got to do that with your spouse, and then you got to do that with siblings, with family members. So um, I think it's normal to have disagreements and not see eye to eye, but we don't have to live in dysfunction. I
Mm hmm.
do believe that there are, ways to overcome that.
I, yes. And it's the coping and overcoming that allows you to. So, with me having a dysfunctional family growing up, it was
Hmm.
pretty good up until the divorce, and then the walls came down. Then there's a stepdad, then there's this, then there's that. With
Yeah.
the dysfunctional family, now that I had kids and a wife, I stopped that. I said, no, no, we're done. And so, with God at the center, He was the centerpiece. God was what we all agreed on, and as we raised the kids, as we did what we could, there were no beatings. There was no extreme rage moments. I got angry. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't take it out on them. I stopped that. I didn't present that to my kids, so they didn't have to go through that. Not perfect. 1,000,000% not perfect, but not like what I grew up with. And my wife, same thing. I mean, hers wasn't
Mm.
horrifically dysfunctional, but there were moments. And so what she felt like was the bad parts. We didn't we didn't put that into our kids. We raised them in a better way. And that's so key with dysfunctional families is how do we how do we not bring that along for another generation? It's not generational curses. That's neither here nor there, but it's more about it's going to stop with me. I'm not going to be an alcoholic. I'm not going to do this. And we have to make those choices.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Looking at Adam and Eve, they had the perfect relationship. You know, you're saying there aren't any. There was one
Right.
until. So, but what happened from that is sin was introduced, and then Cain and Abel,
Hmm.
and then Cain killed Abel. There's the first homicide, and the lies and the what am I my brother's keeper? What are you asking me for? There's all this dysfunctional family, and from that, you know, it just went down the line because no one stepped up to stop it. With Abraham uh, when he had that child with Rahab, not Rahab, doggone it, who was the servant that Abraham had?
It was it Eleazar?
No,
No, that's not it.
doggone it,
The
Hagar.
servant
Hagar.
Hagar. Oh,
Yeah.
you talking about the one? Okay,
So
his baby
after
mama. Right, right.
baby mama, but that was a dysfunctional family, right?
Dysfunctional family.
So and then Hagar had Ishmael, and then what happened after that? That's that's going on today. The
Yeah.
lineage of Ishmael and the lineage of Isaac. So that still happens. There's repercussions for that, and this dysfunction. And a lot of people, I guess, might say, "Oh, it's rednecks or it's the no man, it's everybody. Everybody
Hmm.
has a dysfunctional family. It doesn't take much. You fall off the rails as fast as you can because you don't have, like I said, God at the center. I really believe that.
Hmm.
And when you are focused everybody selfishly on themselves, that's what's going to happen. How
Yeah.
do you think a lot of dysfunctional families start? What do you think, David? How do they begin?
um. Well, I know you said that generational curses. But I happen to believe in that. Um. I remember so similar. My parents they got married, had me. Then when I was about 8 or 9 years old, um, they got a divorce. And I remember my father sitting me down on the couch and him saying, "Me and your mom, we're going to get a divorce. It's not your fault." Trying to reassure me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I began to cry. And then he started crying. And he said to me, I've only seen my daddy cry like 2 or 3 times in my whole life, right?
Right.
He said to me, when I was your age, my daddy set me down on the couch and said the same thing to me that I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying to you. And it brought him to tears. My parents, both of them, my mom and dad, both of their parents got divorced around the same age
Mm.
that I was when they got divorced.
Mm.
I think that both of them had a hard time uh, with marriage because they grew up in homes where marriages fell apart. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, I, that's just a little thing that I feel as an example how things can pass from generation to generation. Um, why does dysfunction happen? My explanation for it is like nobody's perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got problems, everybody's got faults. Um, if we disagree, which is a normal thing, if we don't have good communication skills or we don't know how to take care of one another or even take care of ourselves. You see what I'm saying? We
Mm.
could have dysfunction just because I'm not loving myself. You see what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah. Love
Yeah.
has to be the center.
So nobody's born good communicator. My father told me that, and I say it all the time. It is a skill that you learn and you have to build on. You have to improve
Hmm.
on. Nobody's born a good communicator. Most people are not good communicators.
And you're
So
picking up learned behaviors that got passed
picking
down
up,
and passed down.
passed down. If I see my father, so like I said, my parents got divorced. So from 8 or 9 till about 15, it was just me and my mom. Then I went and lived with my father from about 15 to 20 or 21, something like that. And seeing my father, even when they were married, and then going through high school with them, I saw my father get up early in the morning, go to work, then come home from work, eat, take a shower, and then go play music at night.
Hmm.
I saw my father doing that, all my life. So when I got grown, I had a job. I went up, I got up early in the morning, work, and then played with the band at night, just like I saw my father do.
Yeah.
You know what I
Learned
mean?
behavior.
And that learned behavior. And it wasn't a bad thing. In this
No.
situation, it was a good thing. But a lot of times children do what they see their parents do. So whatever the good and the bad, the bad things that they see them doing, they tend to take on to that. So here we go. Here's dysfunction. I got problems, you got problems,
Hmm.
and now our problems are doing a tornado in the house, is dysfunction. Some of the red flags that you have a dysfunctional family. And, like I said, all relationships have disagreements and things like that. That don't necessarily mean that they're dysfunctional, but what is a common thing amongst dysfunctional families? No boundaries, and then also no accountability. So I've watched people families blow up, fight. You see what I mean? Just tear each other to shreds. Then we all leave. You go back to your house. My brother
Hmm.
goes back to, and then after we done slept, and now I'm not mad anymore. I'm not, bursting with adrenaline or whatever. Then I come back and be around you again. No one ever says, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm never going to do that again. I'm not going to do this. Or look, y'all can't do
Right.
this. We can't. No accountability, no boundaries.
Right.
And we just keep getting back together. We keep being around each other without making any amends or anything like
Right.
that. That's dysfunction.
Holding
That's
them grudges.
insanity.
Hold the grudges.
We're doing the same thing
Yeah.
over and over.
Right.
And so, and then they're thinking, well, I'm not holding a grudge because, yeah, we fought last week, but I'm still here to be there for you.
Mm.
But if we don't rectify anything, it's just going to keep happening. It's insanity. It's just the same thing over and over. So that's a common thing. I've seen, and people function that way, and to them that's normal. For me, growing up an only child, I knew that was not normal. I remember as a teenager, you got a little girlfriend or whatever, and you're talking to her on the phone. Now I don't have any younger siblings. I don't live in the house with anybody else except one parent, right? So my house is calm. My house is quiet unless I'm making music or something, but
Hmm.
everything is normal. There's nobody shouting at anybody. I'm on the phone with, my little girlfriend, and every 5 minutes, we're talking, oh yeah. And so hold on one second. Get out my room. Get away from my food. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, and that's normal. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But
Yeah.
for me, so I had a trouble with dealing with people. I had to learn how to deal with conflict because luck, you know, I was blessed and fortunate to have parents that loved me and treated me
Oh
well. They
yeah.
didn't abuse me or things like that.
Right.
So I didn't have that treatment, nor did I project that because I didn't experience that.
You had like a soft
So,
spot to land on. You knew that they
so
loved you.
I knew that they loved me,
Mm-hmm.
and of course there's disagreements, like I say
Sure,
always,
sure.
but disagreements and dysfunction are two different things. So when I would begin to interact with my friends and get involved in other people's lives and see how families operated, it was just uh amazing, and not in a good way. I couldn't believe, this is a quite a common thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But yeah, that, and then my father told me, I know I'm hogging it up,
No,
but
no, no. Hog away.
my father my father told me, uh, two people who keep who are not meant to be around each other keep trying to be around each other.
Mm.
Somebody ends up going to jail or worse.
Hmm.
When two people who are not supposed to be around each other keep trying to be around each other, somebody ends up going to jail or worse. You see
Hmm.
what I mean? So I always kept that in mind. And that's why I'm so big on the boundaries and accountability thing, because if we can't respect each other, and I don't care if we're blood or we're friends or, associates, if we don't have those lines that we're not going to cross so we can continue to have a healthy relationship, if we can't do that, then we don't need to be around each other. And that's the sad thing. Sometimes family, that has to be done. Sometimes you have to put up boundaries. You have to love people from a distance, and that includes blood. And that's the hard part, because you think that this is my family. This is, if anybody's supposed to love me, it's supposed to be
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Sometimes family be the one causing the hurt and pain. And sometimes you have to protect yourself from your family.
I
It's sad, but it happens.
I was thinking about a lot of what you said there, and sorry, there's a couple of things that hit me. Was it feels like with a dysfunctional family, we talked about this last episode, the sacrificial love of a friend. There's sacrificial love of a family. The father, your dad, going out dirt early, working all day, and even though he's playing with the guys at night, he's getting paid. So he's,
Hmm.
you know, still working at night. We hear it all the time. The single mom raising X amount of kids who works three jobs, especially athletes. We'll talk about it. Now they're able to give back and buy their mom a house, get her to quit those three jobs. But
Right.
that sacrificial love, like Christ loved us,
Right.
just give, unexpecting. Like, I don't need anything from you. I just want to provide. I just want to give you love, give you basic needs. I'm not buying you Air Jordans. You get Pumas, but but you're gonna have shoes, and
Right.
you don't need filet mignon. It's PB and J, but you got PB and J. Um, that sacrificial love, which is Christ, which is God, which is at the center. When it is there, there's less dysfunction. One of the things you're saying, it kind of triggered a thought, is a lot of family dynamics, if you will, start to become more and more dysfunctional when there's too much pride.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you hurt
Hmm.
me. You did this. It's never, well, I did say that first. And yeah, it's kind of my fault too because I did. No, no, no. It's that prideful, you said that about so and so. And then there's never, like you were saying, there's never an apology. There's never a reconciliation. There's never healing. And I've
Right.
had that happen in families where in one of my family sides, somebody accused us of something,
Hmm.
and
I remember you telling me about that.
that something has driven a wedge that has not healed for years. And
Hmm.
I don't talk to certain people anymore. I just don't talk to them. But they thought a thing, whatever that thing is, they thought it. But I really feel like it's pride of, well, if I say I'm sorry, I admit I'm wrong, and if I say let's still be family, then I don't hate them. I'm disappointed. It wasn't true. But you wonder, like, why can't they say sorry? Why can't they say, oh, I was wrong, or maybe I was wrong? It's always been 100%, and that's so sad. That's so sad. Um,
Mhm.
I just wait for that day. Uh, but when I was a kid, like you were talking, I had my dad who loved me, but mom kicked him out, and he'd be gone for a while. He's trying to survive. 6 months, we wouldn't see him, or we'd see him every other weekend, and then hey, got to move a state away. Okay. Gone for a couple years. We'd see him once a year, maybe. But that created dysfunction because now, as a child, you're blaming your mom for kicking him out. Now, maybe it was 50-50. They agreed. I don't know for a fact. But you as a child, you fester on that. You think about those thoughts. And that dysfunction of a family, when no one's there to mentor you and say, no, really, it happened like this. Mom and dads disagree. And I don't know if that's what happened with you, but it felt like it was a little bit more structured and settled. Hey, we both love you.
Mhm.
I felt like it wasn't for me, and there was so many issues, so much anger and rage. Um, it got worse for me as I went along. I was a rage monster, but
Mhm.
that dysfunction when my mom finally said, I think I'd turned 19, and she said, "Get out of here. This house is just a pit stop for you, anyways. Leave." I said, "Okay." I loaded everything up in the vehicle and left. And I didn't think she thought I would actually do it. Like, I'm out. I'm done. But these dysfunctions, like I said before, I don't take to my kids. I don't take to my wife. I have never yelled at my wife.
Mhm.
I've never yelled with extreme anger to my kids. I have said on quite a few occasions, "You're pushing me. Why are you pushing me? Stop.
Mhm.
Quit being jerks." Like they would fight all the time for a while in their teen years. And you want to be dysfunctional and scream and do things, but because God is at the center, you don't. You pay attention, you realize it. Slow to speak, slow to anger, quick to listen.
Right.
Um for a lot of these families there's shame. For a lot of these families there's secrecy. There is an event, or
Mhm.
there's alcohol, there's drugs, there's things.
Mhm.
And there was that in mine. Um, it builds low self esteem for the kids. And that's why it's so hard to come out of that low self esteem, that I deserve this mentality. That's what's so sad is they don't know how to break it because they never realize they're in it. I'll never forget. I think it was around, I think I was 32. Either way, a guy I was working with said, "Hey, there's a real chance that you could work for one of his relatives and he would pay you." It was a really good salary, like so good of
Mhm.
a salary. We could have moved out of our trailer we were living in. Times were hard. And I realized for the first time in my life, the very first time in my life, I had true hope.
Mhm.
And I really, for a week, it messed with me. It never came to be, but it
Mhm.
introduced to me real, true hope. Like, oh, I could have this salary. We could do this. We could move out. Here I am hugging it
Mhm.
now. But the
No, you good.
but that hope is, you don't have hope when you're in a dysfunctional family. Like I said, don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. All
Mhm.
of a sudden, I could talk about hope. I could trust in hope. I could feel hope.
Yeah.
And it was so wild for the first time I had hope. It was such an amazing, like, this is what hope is? Oh, wow. And then you start realizing I'm in my early 30s and I've never had this. What the
Mhm.
world? It was so weird. Um, Joseph had a dysfunctional family. I mean, his brothers, they threw him in a pit. They took his robe
Mhm.
and they sold him to slavers that went down to Egypt, and God redeemed it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a dysfunctional family. King David, he only had, what was it? Adultery, murder. His kids rebelled against him. Like, yeah, there's some dysfunction there. Um, Genesis 18:22. The men turned away and went towards Sodom, but Abraham remained standing by the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
That proves that dysfunction can be stopped. And Abraham's choice of standing by the Lord while everybody else went to Sodom, which is, even if you're not Christian, you've heard of Sodom, sodomy, sodomite. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I think Christ has to be the center of the family to avoid these dysfunctional families.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. I there's a lot of my work, the people that I deal with, um, uh, I want to say the high 90% is, there's some kind of
Mm-hmm.
dysfunctional family issue. And I asked them, I asked them a question. What, what's your relationship? Do you have family here? What's your relationship like with the family? And in that question, it's a loaded question because it's going to tell me a lot about what's really going on,
Right.
how you describe that. If you tell me, I I get a lot of young kids, and I said, well, why'd you leave home, what's going on? Oh, well, my mom, she's always doing this to me and doing that to me, and she won't let me this and that, and she mistreats me, and now what they're saying, that could be the case, that could be the truth, right? And then that it'll tell me, are they being mistreated, or they just don't want to do what their parent is telling them to do,
Mm-hmm.
and they're being defiant. And I say, okay. So I give them some options. They don't want to go with the options. They just want to be free to do what they want to do.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, you've been on the streets for about 2 days. Give it a week. You know what
Right.
I mean? And let the elements work on you. Let the situations that
Right.
people who are homeless have to go through.
Mm.
Give yourself a little time of that. And sure enough, about a month, 2 months, they're calling mom. Mom, I just, this is just too much for me. I can't handle this. I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, I got to, and you see what I'm saying? And that, that experience will show them what, is it really that bad at home? You know what I mean? Is
Yeah.
it being with this person really that bad?
Right.
Um, there's those kind of situations, and then there's, like how you say, man, just mistreatment
Right.
and um you know things like that. What I've learned growing up, and what's helped me, is, as I saw myself grow up, I knew that I was a kid who got older, and a lot of the things that I do, I still like to play music and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, and those are things that have been doing since I was a kid. And some of the good things and bad things from my childhood are, things that I would deal with as an adult. So once you realize that about yourself, that you're not perfect, you don't know all the answers, you're not always going to say the right things or do the right things, you can give people grace. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Try to understand them. Yeah, they're wrong. They shouldn't say that. They shouldn't
Right.
do that. But what was their childhood like? You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
I've thought
What
about
did they?
that. Well, I'm sorry, but I thought about that with my mom. Like my grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
she would talk about it, how hard he was. Well, he
Mm-hmm.
grew up in the hills of Tennessee and mountains of Tennessee, and they didn't have anything, and you had to be hard. Like there's no electricity, there's no running water unless it's a stream. There's nothing. You
Mm-hmm.
you lived hard because you had to. You've got to be a good shot. My grandfather is an expert marksman in in World War II. Why? Because he had to. If you didn't shoot it, bullets are expensive. If you didn't shoot the game with
Mm-hmm.
the first bullet, You're wasting money. Um,
Mm.
Trying to wrap this up. We're at about a half hour. So, how do we heal? Forgiveness, time,
Yeah.
more
Mm.
forgiveness, forgive again. You were saying it great. Give grace, right?
Give grace. Give grace to people around you. Give grace to
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Yeah, and that does not mean that you let them off the hook
No,
or
no.
you accept this or it's okay. No, it's not okay. You know what I mean? No, that's not cool. But you're going to have to figure out a way to protect yourself. You're going to have to figure out a way to take care of yourself so that you can have a better quality of life. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you holding on to a lot of hurt and pain, anger and rage, it will just destroy you. That's like drinking poison. Like we always say,
Mm-hmm.
that's drinking poison. So
Well, it's drinking
that's not the
poison, and
answer.
by doing that, you're drinking poison, and you hope that it hurts them.
That it hurts them, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to swallow this
And
poison, and it's going to hurt you. How?
right,
And a lot.
right, right.
Here's the other kicker. So much of this anger and rage is people who have forgotten it. Like you fester
No,
on it
yeah,
every day. They haven't thought
right.
about it in 20 years.
They they were like, "What? I said that?"
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah, and
But
that's what's so weird about it is what bothers us for a lifetime is they put it out of their mind for whatever reason. They
mhm.
oh really,
Oh yeah,
or they'll deny it.
they
I never did that.
right, right. And so and that's another thing, you know, you if once you understand in life you cannot control
Nope.
other people.
Nope.
You can't even control what might happen to you. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
The only thing that you can control is you and how you react and how you treat people. So
Right.
you have to do the best that you can to take care of yourself so you can be a positive, you know, person in this world. And like how we say here, a big part of that is following Christ. You see what I
Amen.
mean? If you want to see what perfection is,
Mm-hmm.
learn about him. See what he has to say about everything that he said. You know what I mean? Every issue. That's the closest. That is perfection. You know what I mean? So trying to live like that, trying to have that type of mindset is the best thing that we can do in this life. So forgiving,
Mm-hmm.
not allowing that to sit in your spirit, the hurt, the pain, the anger. If you have to do therapy, then yeah, do that. If you need a group, you know, type of thing where we can talk about this and we can express this and I can get this off my chest and not commiserating,
Right.
but helping each other, iron sharpening iron. If you got to do that, if you know in your heart that man, I've been through so much. I've been mistreated by people who are supposed to love me, and I got a record that's a mile long of
Right.
what happened to me.
Right.
It's not your fault, no.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do is try to pick up the pieces in your life, try to heal from that. So therefore, you can go on and have a good quality of life. You know
There's
what I
a
mean?
no. There's a verse that's speaking to what you're saying in Ephesians 4:3. Paul says, "Make every effort to keep
Effort.
the unity of the Spirit through the
Mm-hmm.
bond of peace." The unity of
Mm-hmm.
the Spirit. Be one under Christ, the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
The unity.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we do that? Through the bond of peace.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Yeah.
argue, don't fester, don't
Uh,
accuse, don't I mean
yeah.
what is the devil called? The accuser. And when you
Right.
mess up,
Right.
what happens? You did that. You shouldn't have done
You
that.
did that. Right.
They'll whisper in your ear, man. You shouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
done that. See what you did?
And humility too is a big thing about it because guess what?
Mm-hmm.
When you do accuse, when you do mistreat, when you because nobody's
Right.
perfect, everybody makes mistakes. Um, Be willing to apologize. Be willing to make
Right.
amends. Be willing to accept that you were wrong. You see what I mean? Because
Oh,
a lot of
totally.
times when
Yeah.
you try to have this conversation with, hey man, when you said that, I didn't like that. Well, no, I didn't say that. Just like how you were saying,
Yeah.
no, I
I
didn't
never
do
did
that.
that.
You know, that's pride. Pride blinds us. It blinds us from our own faults. So pride is not a good thing in really no situation.
Mm-hmm.
So to try to be humble. And then when you're dealing with a person that's prideful and they're just not seeing it, just tell yourself, look, man, how can I expect this person to give me
Yeah.
what they're incapable of doing?
And that
I'm
goes
going
to that family member that's doing that to us, and I've
right.
I've forgiven them. I really have,
Mm,
and we have to be able to realize sometimes you have to forgive, and you'll never get the acceptance of that forgiveness. And sometimes they're dead. So after my mom
right.
died, we tried to reconcile while she was alive, but I didn't truly forgive her until a few years later, where I really was able to,
Mm,
give that to God and forgive for good. Um,
mm,
yeah, it's very hard to just put a final note on it all. It's very hard to go through a dysfunctional family life, but there is another side to it. You can choose not to do that. You could choose to treat other people with grace, with love, and compassion, and have that Christ mindset as you go out through the world. And without it, I'm not saying if you don't have Christ, you will go and be dysfunctional again, but your odds are greater. Your odds are much greater.
oh yeah. And by doing that, also remember that does not make you weak.
No,
It's just not weak
no,
to let it go for
no.
the sake of peace. It makes you a winner. It makes you an overcomer.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want to get back, what all the wickedness stems from evil from Satan, right?
Mm-hmm.
He creates this dysfunction. He create just like he did to Adam and Eve. He creates, you know, brokenness and then accuses everybody about it, right? But if you can go through that and say, you know what, I'm not going to let this destroy me. I am going to give this to God because it's so overwhelming. It's hard for me to deal with, but I'm going to give this to God and I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to constantly meditate on his word and it will give you peace. You see what I mean? And then boom, I can overcome this. I can get past this. So many people have. I know this sounds corny,
Mm-hmm.
but no, a lot of people overcome dysfunction.
Right.
And I believe that most people can do that. So
And it
there
takes
is
work.
hope.
It takes work.
It takes work, but there is hope and there is success, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate you guys being with us. You're not alone. That's another key takeaway. Everybody goes through it, different levels. It's not always, you know, broken bones and black eyes. Sometimes it's verbal. Sometimes it's neglect. Sometimes it's hurt feelings, and sometimes it's people with pride pushing and making things in a bad way because of their pride. Well, but thanks for listening, guys. Truly, gold stars for everybody. How about that? What do you think?
Yeah.
Just give them away.
Yeah, just freely give them away.
Like when they have the $100 bills with one hand and the other hand, they're just handing out the hundred
You're
dollar bills.
right.
That's them gold stars flying through the air. Just grab one for yourself.
Right.
All right, all right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate it so much. Check us out on Substack. YouTube's giving me a hard time. I'm not able to upload right now. I don't know what it is. They changed something. I might have to actually do some real digging into this. It used to be easy. Now it's hard. But then again, technology hates me. Oh, well. Well, we love you. Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
Bye, David.
Peace.